think I think I got to a stage, in my life where, I was surrounded by a lot of people that, couldn't take the situation serious enough to be like, you know what, this is what I want, and I want to do something, and I want to better myself by doing it right. And, you know, as an artist, making tapes or freestyles or whatever, you know, something I think I got used to saying, one of my favorite quotes as a rapper artist was probably opposition too shook. And I feel like even putting that, bringing that back, from 2018, like there were a lot of people, I met over the years. I obviously I came across this person in 2019, and this is what really bugs the fuck out of me, aggravates me. What aggravates me is I could respect someone, and I could fully respect them, but it doesn't matter how hard I respected them, they didn't respect me back, right? And when you look at society, when you look at the world that you live in, you kind of come to an understanding that maybe Andrew has a point. He surrounds himself with real businessmen, right? And the reason he does this, the reason why he says the stuff he says, the reason he has such a following, and because people will try to put him out there and say, I like what he says. It's not because he talks about, these models or these type of people or the things they do. For me, what I find interesting about some of the stuff he says, because it's not everything, right? Some of the stuff he says, he's right. And the scary truth is, when a person makes videos and talks about the harsh but truth, that you sort of look at yourself, and you sort of relate to what he says, because you know what? You sit there and you're like, I've gone through that in my life, and I have. I know I could work a 9 to 5. I could go into a work environment. I could go into work. I'd love to work. I would love to fucking work with realer man, bro. I feel people have chosen modernity, right? Modernity, whatever the fuck they call it, over masculinity. And what masculinity means to me as a person, right? As a member of the audience, let's say, right? What it means to me is, by accepting that you are on your own, that there is nobody out here that is gonna fight your battles, have your back, be in your corner, right? And the thing is, I went through a lot of periods of my life, like, stages, phases, where I would be around people like Daniel, Aaron, Sanjay, these type of people, Marco, I meant, what's his name? I knew another guy, Mark, but, Marco, right? Shane, these type of man. I used to sit with them, and I used to have the amount of respect I had for these man. I had a fuck ton of respect for these man. Like, I could not even put into words how much I respected these man, bro. Like, I looked up to some of these man, and the truth behind that is, when you respect a man, but they're not man, they're arrogant bitches, it says a lot, right? It does. And I try to sit there, and I try and talk to myself a lot of the time. I try and say, Raj, what the fuck do you want out of life, right? Do you want to work a job? Do you want to be in an environment where you're going to sit with someone and you're going to say, I want to do this and that? Fuck no. I experienced it all in 2019. How? I experienced it all in 2017. A person like me could ever experience it once. But when you look at females, right, they'll go through relationships because they're in it for those stages, right? They could go through stages and stages of relationships. They could fuck whoever they want. They can sleep with whoever they want. They can talk about who they've slept with, who they've been with. But when it's men understand it a little bit more, because men are always going to be more fragile. They're always going to be more, like they've been done dirty. They understand it. They've experienced it. For females, they don't care. They're cold. Right now, when I say that, it's a very brave thing for me to say, but it's not. Because when I look at the sheet, right, that I'm not reading off, it's in my brain, right? I look back and I look at, females like Emily, for example, or Leah, or Sophie, or Charlotta, or Sinead, Desi, right? I look at these bitches, right? Because I respected them. Like I said, I respected I respected a lot of people, but I was never respected. Nobody. That's what I mean, right? That's why I could never work a 9 to 5. That's why I could never be in an environment around people, because I know I'm gonna be there. Like, I would do it once, right? I would do it once, and then I'm gonna sit there and say, so I'm supposed to sign 80% to the majors. I'm not a puppet. Right? And when I say that, I mean that with all due respect. I don't think anyone in this generation should be, but the fact that they are, the fact that they take orders, the fact that they, need someone like a father figure, a daddy to talk for them, right? And then you got a guy like Bulgarin, for example, talking to Luis Lopez about his boss Tony, right? And I'm sitting there like, that's so true though, right? Because you're essentially, when you look at these games don't want it, but they're telling you something, subliminal messaging, right? They're trying to tell you that they want dummies, and these dummies need a ventriloquist. When you bring it back, you rewind, like, when Aaron, is in his zone, right? Not in his comfort zone, in the zone, and he's spitting his bars. He's telling you how it is, right? And he's saying a CEO means that you don't need a ventriloquist. Rappers sign 80% to the majors, in case you forgot what a puppet is. That's this generation. And a lot of these men know this, but still do it anyway. I refuse. Because I don't want to live like that. I don't want to go in a situation where I have to do it all over again. I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm not achieving anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm wasting these people's time, right? I am. And this is the truth. This is the harsh reality of this. When you go in an environment like Wolfren or Juniper, right, and you make friendships with people, and you sit there with those people and say, I'm your brethren now, I'm your friend, I'm close to you, right? We're tight, right? It's not that, bro. And you can go and ask Andrew, you can go and ask Tristan, and they'll tell you the same thing, bro. The only reason they have that level of intelligence when it comes to they could cut it off, and they're not surrounding themselves with depression or losers, is because they understand, right? They understand, right? You sit there and say, fuck, I want to be where they are. I want that fame. I want that life. But you wouldn't handle it. You couldn't handle it. For someone like me, I could. You know why? Because I look at all these other people and I could just do it like that. I could just be like, well, you want to holler me now because I have all these things. When I was next to you, you didn't even want to know my name. Now I have a name. You want to know my name. You want to eat off my name, but you couldn't accept me for who I was. So if you can't accept me at my best, then you don't deserve me. If you can't, yeah, you know what I mean, right? At my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. It's how it is. I don't even know how these sayings go, but I should.